Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Absinthe Meetup. We're delighted to have you everyone here. Special thanks to all my friends for staying up late to support me as it's a late night in India and Australia. So I'm Nitesh Mishra, excited to be your speaker today. An Elixir developer, I am passionate about creating robust, scalable applications, and I'm eager to share my insights and experience on the GraphQL and Absinthe with you. Let's delve into world of Elixir and uncover the power of Absinthe together. Thank you again, Mike and Simon, for inviting me to discuss another part of this Absinthe. For those who missed the last Absinthe session, our meetup was divided into two parts. Today, we'll be covering the part two, which focuses on subscription. To recap, part one covered GraphQL concepts, which includes Absinthe schema, queries, and mutation. Video of the session is available on Curiosum YouTube channel. Kindly go and watch after this. Thank you so much again for joining this. Now, let's start. So, agenda of this today meetup is basically we'll talk about introduction of this subscription. We'll do setup of Absinthe subscription to our project. We'll have some live examples, how subscriptions work, and then we'll go through unit test for query, mutation, and subscriptions. On the part one, we haven't shown the unit test for QA query and mutation, which we will cover today. Okay, so the GraphQL subscriptions, a way to have an event in server push data out to the client in real time. As we already know, GraphQL is a query language for API that allows declarative data fetching, which means a client can ask for exactly what they want, and only that data is returned from the server. GraphQL also supports a long-running subscription between the client and server, where server can notify the client of events. This can be very useful in multi-user scenario where many users might interact with the same resource at the same time. For example, in a social media application, a client can subscribe to the server to receive a new comments as they are posted instead of having to call the server to get those new comments all the time. This is now a two-way communication and regular HTTP transport is not well suited for it. Let's see how subscription work and how to create them. Oops, this schema again. This is actually we have shown and we talked about on the last meetup. Don't worry, it's just a recall the last time. We're gonna use this again for subscription. So thought of refreshing our memory. Generally, schema form this core concept of GraphQL API. In GraphQL, everything is strongly typed and the schema contains information about the API capabilities. So in this example, it's shown on your screen from a social media application which contains a post type, like it's shown having ID, title, description, author, and comments. You can also check here. We can see few of the keys contains exclamation marks and few of the keys are not. When we have an exclamation mark, it means this is a mandatory and non-nullable field. When we have not added exclamation mark, means it can be nullable and it's an optional field. So it's a simple recap for the schema. Now the GraphQL subscription, real-time update via GraphQL. In a GraphQL subscription, provide a way for a client to get real-time update from the server. When certain event happen, unlike traditional GraphQL query and mutation, which follow a request response pattern where you send a request and get the response accordingly. Subscription establish a persistent connection between the client and server, enabling asynchronous communication, obviously through WebSocket. And illustrated in this slide, we subscribe to update post by providing the post ID and expect it to receive ID, title, and comments for that post when server pushes something to the topic. Here, when you are making a request, a first response you will receive is your subscription data will appear here after server publication. And you don't have to worry, you don't have to do anything. Once you are subscribing, you made the connection with the server. When server will do something, your data will appear to that channel, that topic, or that channel. Yep. Going to next, which is basically setting up your Elixir app with the GraphQL and Absinthe. First thing first, we have to add Absinthe Phoenix to our mix module. We already have seen Absinthe plug, and JSON module for query and mutation. For subscription part, you're gonna need to have this Absinthe Phoenix. Then you need to add Absinthe subscription into our application module along with the application web.endpoint. Here it is. Then after, go to endpoint module and add absinthe.phoenix.endpoint. And also you need to add the socket where WebSocket value will be true and long pole will be false. Then we have to add the Absinthe Phoenix socket by using our schema that we have defined into the user socket. In my application, I saw that I don't have a user socket. So you can use mix phx.gen.socket user command to generate the user socket in case it's not available in your application. I am not 100% sure, but I think because I'm using this latest version, when I generated my Phoenix application, it was not available on that. So you can use this mix gen socket user to generate user socket. And after that, you can update this absinthe.phoenix.socket and the schema that we are utilizing. Yep, here it is. So what we are doing is we are defining the schema type for subscription. You can see we have our import types for query, mutation, and subscription. The first two is for query and mutation. The last one we have added for this part 2, which is subscription. And we have also defined the subscription into the import field by this name called post_subscriptions. So as we talked last time, import field and import types are macros, which is used to arrange our code for application when especially the application is big. And for example, let's say your schema starts growing and you will soon notice that putting all type of definition and query field in the same file is not sensible. And this is where import type and import field come into play. And this is why I'm also utilizing this import type and import fields. So what's the import type module here is post subscription. We'll go to that and we'll check how we are defining actual Absinthe subscriptions. Here it is, defining the Absinthe subscription. If you look into our subscription block, we have added a field name post updated with the return type of the field as a post. This post updated and return type as a post, which should be non-nullable and all. And we're also taking one argument as a post ID. This field accepts an argument. So far, everything is similar to what we would have done for query and the mutation. But in the subscription, if you see, we have two new macros, config and trigger. Config, what's config? Here, config is to configure the subscription field. This also where we can perform other checks like authorization to accept or reject subscription. The function passed to the config receives the argument passed to the field and Absinthe resolution struct that contains information like a context. So return value of this config is, okay, topic of topic in case of successful, and in case of failure, it will return error, reason in the same tuple. Topic is what? Its topic is like what Absinthe uses to identify subscriber who should be notified of that event. We'll check through the code though. But for completeness, the topic can be single string or list of containing multiple topics that we subscribe to. Another macro that we are using here is a trigger. What trigger macros do? The easiest way to trigger the subscription is to use trigger macros inside a subscription field. This accepts the name of mutation to trigger the subscription and the topic function. Assume we have a mutation named update post. Our schema is to update post. Now, as we have added the trigger macro for update post mutation, it will trigger every time when post is updated. So here, the function we pass as a topic to trigger will be executed with the update post mutation result, and it should return the name of a topic that is that mutation will trigger. So this trigger update post is aligned with our mutation. Once mutation will be called, this trigger will work, and this will update to this topic. Here we have to note one thing: trigger macro works great as long as the only way to update the post is through GraphQL API. But let's say we can have a multiple case scenario when we have a separate APIs, a REST APIs. I mean, a traditional Phoenix Wix controller live view to update the post. In that case, it's not good to use a trigger from the GraphQL API. It's better to use publish. Publish like absinthe.subscription.publish method is a good place to put this publish method inside a code at lower level, and the context where we are calling this update post mutation. So this is the schema and the block for the subscriptions. Okay, let's check some code. So before diving into the code, let's understand the project and that we are going to talk about. Project is basically a part of a social media application, which we are talking since last meetup, where users can post their update on the timeline. Specifically, it references a product I'm actually working into my organization that includes a playground application for children. In application, educator and parents are the main user, where educator can post anything about our that children, and parents and educator, anyone can comment to the post, posting the interaction and engagement among the users. So mainly the key feature are post and comments. Post where a user can create a new post with the title, description, and other details. User can update their published post. Comments where a user can comment on the post and it displayed below each post. You must have seen this into a lot of social media application, Facebook and all. This is how we are doing with the post. Okay, let's start with the code then. First thing first, we have to add Phoenix, Absinthe underscore Phoenix into our Max module. I'm using the version 2.0.0. You can also use the version 2.0.2, which is released. And then inside the router, we just updated one thing, which is a socket, which will work through user socket. And inside an application module, we have to add Absinthe subscription and Learn Absinthe Web endpoint. So Learn Absinthe Web is my application name. I'm using it. Then going to this endpoint, we need to add, as shown in the slides, we need to add Absinthe Phoenix endpoint, and also you need to do with the socket. Wave socket should be true, long pole should be false. Going to this user socket, you need to add this Absinthe Phoenix socket, and schema will be utilize this Learn Absinthe Web schema. Here, I have commented out all this connect part, but you can, if you want to work with authorization and authentication thing, you have to amend this connect thing, take this details either from token or the way you want to proceed, and decode that token, add the users, and pass it on. Then we are going to schema as shown. We have the import fields, post subscription. We have a post queries and post mutations. Queries and mutations we have already shown last time. Is the query. We are having a get query, get to single post, get post query to get the list of posts. We have the object of the post which contains ID, title, description, author, and the comments. Most of data type you already know. It's like a ID type, string, and in case of author, we have a author data type, which is struct. We have defined on top of this. So this is how our query is. Then we have our mutation, which have having two things: create a post, update a post, and then we have a subscription. So our subscription is the field we have added as a post updated, and we are triggering over update post mutation, which is this one. If you can see this. Yep. So we have the subscription here. We have the post we are considering. This is the context. You will get all the information if you want. If you want to update to the user socket level, and you can do all the things. You can update or reset from here. It's all the configuration setting that you have to perform. For this meetup, I just made it simple and given this opportunity for all of you that you can explore at your end. Now, as we have already done all the setups, let's check the code. Let's check here. And not so sure how can we. Okay, let's start here. Next steps.get. I already have tasted this, so this mix steps is with me. If you will add new and will perform mix steps.get, you will get a green dependencies downside here. And then I'm going to do the start the application. The way we start. Yes, our application is ready. Now, let's go here. So this is UI given by graphQL. When you add the code, when you add the code into your router and you just forward this into your router as a graphQL, it will actually render to graphQL, and it's giving you this good user interface to do testings and to do some showcase for your purpose. Let's create the post by passing the title and the description. Post is created. We have a post and we have ID as a 2. In the second subscription, all we can do is for the ID 2, we have a post updated subscription, as we have already seen into this for post updated, which will work on the update post mutation. So what we are doing is for ID 2, we are actually subscribing and waiting. We'll get ID, title, and comments. Now, just for testing purpose, we can also subscribe to any other ID, which is non-existing. This will also subscribe and wait if server pushes anything. Here, in case we perform any update to this, we have this update post mutation here, where we are passing our ID as a 2, which we got here. And then, before that, we can also do one thing. For get post, let's get the post and the comment, what is inside the comment. So we can see we don't have anything inside a comments list. All we can do is we can update a comments and check how this subscription, which is actually waiting for the result, is showing. Going to update post, adding the comment to check the post. 1, we are passing the ID and we are expecting the comment here. Now calling update post is actually, we got the comment list, one of a comment inside the list. Wait, see, this is how subscription works. You subscribe to the topic, and now whenever server doing anything, you will start getting result out of that. We have other subscription, which is actually waiting because we don't have any post ID with the 99. And if you see, we are actually subscribing through the post ID, and we are triggering over the post ID. Again, to test more, if we want to add adding, let's say, we are adding some more comments to test subscribe post, and let's update it. We have a 2 comment here. It's appeared. So basically, once you subscribe to a topic, you have to just wait. Whenever server will do any activity to the topic, you will start getting notification for that. You will start getting structure notification, whatever we say. In our case, as we have defined what we are expecting inside that is this. So we are getting that. Yep, that is all about the subscription part. This is what I wanted to show. Now we are moving to the test part, testing query, mutation, and subscription. Hope you guys are still there. Here is that. Most of the code I have already written and tested to save your time and to walk you more through this. Cool. So moving to the test part, we have a query test here. I have written 2 tests for query, which is one, return the post when it's available, and return not found error if there is no such post. For that, we are creating the first post. We are having this structure to get the post. And if you can see, we already have this structure here. Using that, we are getting the post. This is the structure here. We are following exactly the same into the code. Now we are requesting little less keys. We can add the key, whatever you want. It's all up to us. And then we are making the query, post graph query, and expecting data and the get post. Expecting the data, and in case of get post, we are expecting the get post. This is what these 2 keywords are there. In case of error, let's say if we want to do this, we are getting errors and not found message. This is what is the second one that we are doing. We are having errors and then the message as a not found. Here, post graph query is simple defined here. We are building a connection. We are putting this content type as an application JSON. And then we are making a query to GraphQL. And then we are having a JSON response. So we are making a query to GraphQL. What is the mean of the GraphQL? Generally, when we have seen here, we are making a query to GraphIQL. But in this case, we are only making a query to GraphQL, not IQL, because this is simple. Whatever the way we have defined into our router, this will work like this. We forward the request like that. So, yep. Again, this is how query test works. Coming to the mutation, we have the mutation for these 2. One is create new post. When we are creating a new post, this is the structure to create a new post. It's shown here when we have created here, and we are passing the title and description. We are matching exactly whatever we are getting from that. And here we have a data, and we are matching with a keyword as a create post. Similarly, for the update post, we are having the post and we are trying to update. Earlier, the comment was empty list, and when we have added some comment, we got this updated post and some comment which is matching with the one we have updated. Let's say we can write the new test which returns not uh, found when post doesn't exist. Let's say this. And here we will do one thing. We'll copy this mutation and we'll pass the post as some dummy post. Let's say 99, favorite number. Then we can make a response with this. And obviously, we can't expect data. We should expect some errors here. Let's see, it's a list of errors. We can make this into head. And the message to this should be not found. Not found. Let's make it as assert. Hope this should work. In the mutation test, copying the relative path. Here we are. We have the mixed test. And if you go to the line, it's a 48. 48. Wow, this worked. Similarly, if you want to test complete mutation, yep, all are working fine. And yep, let's move to the next one, which is crucial one. And this is the subscription test. And to test the subscription, which is part of a socket, we have to do few things. When we say few things, we have to create the socket, we have to subscribe the socket, and then we can make the query, and we can check the assert post. Are we getting this proper subscribe data or not? For this, we have done some settings. We have defined 3 functions: create a socket, subscribe the socket, and the close socket. This actually works automatically, but we can also call this manually in case we need to work as async true. Cool. We are having these 2 functions: create the socket and the subscribe, which is returning subscription ID. Let's go here. We have created a post as our subscription works for this post updated, which is expecting ID and comments. If you can see, as we have shown here, our subscription is like this. We can remove the title, ID and comments. This is what we are expecting from the subscription, passing the ID, and then we have subscribed. After subscription, we got the ID. Then we are calling the update post mutation to check once we trigger it, is it working or not? To get this, yes, we are having the query. We have run the post update mutation. Then we are checking subscription data. We are getting the response. We are getting the subscription ID to match it. Another thing is that this response, which we are expecting like ID and comments, we are trying to assert it's working. Let's test it. If it's really worked or not, then we can check it. Okay, so this. It worked. Nice. And now we can check directly, X test. All 11 tests are working. Okay, so this is it. This is all about subscription. This is about how subscription works. And as we have subscribed into the particular topic, what we can do is this result we can utilize into our client side. In case of JS, we can use the Apollo client, and we have multiple options. It's given on the official hex doc of the subscription, means Absinthe doc. You can check there. Okay, and yep, this is all about. And one more thing that I wanted to mention is, in case the subscription trigger, if you don't want to work through the mutation part, like update post mutation, which is here, update post mutation. If some post is being updated without a mutation, you can actually add some keyword, some absinthe.subscription.publish and the topic here, or maybe in the context when we are getting this updated post. That's it from my end on the subscription part. And what to expect from you is that recommended to explore in Absinthe, authentication authorization. You can also do plug and middleware. You can explore file upload with the multi-part data. And yeah, thank you so much for listening patiently and joining this meetup. I'm really thankful to all of you. And also, I want to thank Curiosum blog because it was a great help for me, especially when I was writing subscription page. So we'll request you guys to please go and read Curiosum blogs and get to know more about that. From my end, I'll soon update this Zone application into my GitHub repo from where you can clone and experiment as much as you want. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitesh. If you can stay for like 3 minutes, maybe there is gonna be a question for you in the Q&A, which we always have at the end. So if any of you have any question, there are some thanks given on the chat, just in case you would like to check this out. And if any of you have any question for Nitesh, can you just submit a question on the chat? I'll just pin it to the Q&A view here. But for now, there are only words of thank you and no questions asked. And Nitesh, maybe if you have the link to GitHub repo you mentioned, you can maybe once we disappear here, and I will just create the survey.
I'll do one thing, Simon. I'll give you this GitHub link, which is here on the screen. And once we'll upload the video, we can add this link so people can go directly to the repo and clone and perform all this type of experiment with GraphQL query mutation and subscriptions. Honestly, this subscription thing was new to me, and we are not utilizing into our product. But once I have went through this for Meetup, I realized, okay, we'll start utilizing for a couple of things that we are implementing into our product. So it's a great stuff. Though we have some limitations as well. Means for the subscription, we still not have a batch processing, so we have to figure it out, and we have to do some customization.
Okay. Yeah, we had some cases where we implemented the subscriptions, and I guess that's why you've read that on our blog, because our developer Jacob that wrote this, I think you mentioned a very big article on our blog. He had some cases where he implemented those. Okay,
it was a great help while I was writing the unit test, especially for subscriptions. And honestly, or unfortunately, I actually saw it very last. Initially, I just read through the book and all, and some experiment for sure. Yep.
There are no questions for you, which means that it was a great presentation. This is the first time on our meetups when we don't have any questions. So, guys, yeah, small applause for Nitesh. Thank you very much for participating for the second time. And showing us a very great stuff about Absinthe. And if any of you would like to join our next meetup, there is already a button on top where you can click and register. Thank you. One last time.
Thank you so much, Simon and Mike, for organizing this. We'll see you in the future for sure.
Thanks. And if just any of you can stay here for a second, I'll just create a survey which we always create at the end of the meetup. Thank you. Have fun and see you next time. Bye-bye.